Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, we are back at it again with some of the greatest, or really not so great news regarding Wuthering Waves. Except it truly does depend on where you land when it comes to the male character versus female character equation, because we got some official data when it comes to Mr. Luuk Herssen. Breaking news! Luuk Herssen in Wuthering Waves has shattered records in China, but that record is not necessarily the one that you're thinking about. It's for minimal ownership. A Chinese player noted, Luuk Herssen is like my bro. I don't need to pull my bro. He lives with me in spirit. I don't know what that's supposed to mean. Well, we see a continued trend of males every 6 months. And so you might be wondering, okay, well, surely this is like not actually real, right? It does look like it's real, at least in CN, according to this website over here that's able to track ownership rates and all of that for certain units. So this is the reality of what we're looking at over here. I got it zoomed in. You've got a bunch of different characters, and they're all sorted by what percentage of the players on this website. I do think it's self-submitted. I'm not actually sure. Maybe it takes the data from in-game, but it takes a look at who actually owns these units on their account out of the total number of people. And as you can see, Yuno's at the very top over here, but every other unit that you can't see, well, you can just imagine that they're higher up over here. So units like your good old Kartathias, all of that. I think Camellia is also one of the highest owned units too. Yeah, Camellia is definitely up there. And Frolova might look like she's relatively high on the list too. Amith as well, probably. So there's a lot of very, very, very popular units, Carlotta too, that are going to be seen above this. You can actually see that units like Augusta aren't actually that popular. Same with Zani too. And so it makes sense for us to kind of like go down the list, see who is here, and then of course start making some other takes regarding who's at the bottom. It's also split out by the percentage of the player base that owns her. What percentage are S0, S1, S2, S3, S4, S5, and S6? And you'll notice that there's very few S5s, almost no S4s, but a bunch of S6s, right? And that kind of like makes sense. That's the percentage of this total, right? That's split across those different sequence nodes. So, you know, going through, we see that the list is going from like Yuno, Chang Li, Chakota, all of that, Phoebe, blah, blah, blah. And then as we get to the bottom, we start seeing a lot more of these male units. I'm actually surprised that Lupa's so low, but maybe that's because she's like, you know, not really a DPS. She's more of a support. Galbraith is also really low as well. Probably because her head looks like a penis. Yinlin is surprisingly high, probably just from the fact that she's like the first female unit in 1.0. And I think Jedge is high because Jinxi's also extremely high ownership rate. The only male unit that's not showing up here is Zhang Liao at the bottom. You can probably guess why Zhang Liao is near the top. That's actually his chin that we see up there. That's because everyone got him for free in version 1.2. So, yeah, hopefully that explains everything. Now, as we get closer to the bottom right, you're going to see, oh, Jian. Even though he was the 1.0 character, well, he's a male and he wasn't free, so that kind of makes a good bit of sense. Then you have Rosia as the most unowned female unit in the game. Why do you think Kuro has stopped making characters with this sort of design? She also has the lowest S6 ownership rate. Oh, sorry, it's actually somewhat, yeah, no, Yinlin and Jeja have the lowest. Actually, never mind. Yeah, for some reason, there's a lot of S6 Rosia owners, I guess. Like, not even joking. Yeah, that's actually a pretty that's a respectable number for a sub DPS, but anyways, that's just an observation. And then below Rosia, you're gonna have Chu Yan, which is surprising because I thought the Chinaman, the Wuxia swordsman, all of that shit would be a lot more popular in CN, but I guess even he wasn't enough. Then you got Brant. Who's surprised that Brant's all the way down here because he's super gay? Like, I don't even think anyone can dispute that. This is the gayest character Kuro has ever released in the history of the game. Like, legitimately, the gayest unit I think ever released in a gacha game before. He's overpowered, and his gameplay's really good, but yeah, he's super gay. And then you're gonna have Luke. The ownership rate on this unit is so ridiculously low relative to other characters, it's almost insane. Bro, he's at a 2.78. Brant's at 11.11. Chuyan's at 20.69. Bro, he's at 2.78%. But this is also something you gotta recognize. Bros appears to have the highest S6 ownership rate. The highest S6 ownership rate out of pretty much all the other characters. And as far as we can see from the bottom of this list, the only one comparable is Zani. And naturally, it might be a little bit higher as we go higher up the list, right? Because the more popular the character is, maybe the more likely they'll S6 them. But as you can see over here, Luke is kind of floundering, brother man. But the reality of this is kind of weird. Luuk is floundering. He's not necessarily a unit that a lot of people needed to pull because he fills the role of a Spectro DPS. And his best-in-slot team features Lene and Mornier, who also happens to be the best-in-slot team for a character that's way more fucking popular than Luuk is. Unfortunately, the design of his banner and where he's placed doesn't make a lot of sense for anyone to actually pull him. Because Amos' best-in-slot team featured Lene, the first debut banner of 3.0, Mornier, the second banner in 3.0, and then Ameth is the first banner in 3.1. Yes, Miss Laser Sword over here. If you wanted her best team, you pull her, then her, then her. Are you actually going to go pull the next guy after you've likely just pulled for 3 banners in a row? No, his banner positioning is probably one of the worst things anyone's ever seen on the fucking planet. You double up with that, with the fact that this guy is another Spectro DPS, when you've already gotten, like, this Spectro DPS situation going, right? Where you got, like, her. And you remember when I said Jinsei is one of the most commonly owned units in the game? Yeah, that's, well, that's just a fact, right? Because she's not fucking down here. She's all the way up there. So most people actually have Jinsei too. And while Jinsei is a steaming pile of dog shit right now, we all kind of know what's going on with her. She desperately needs, like, some actual support. Kuro Games, it's been almost 2 years now. You should probably give her some support, right? He fills a role that not a lot of people are going to need. And the only real situation where he's a must pull is if you're, like, a brand spanking new player that hasn't, like, pulled a Spectro DPS. But if that's the case, you probably would have pulled her instead, because, like, how the fuck could you not after the 3.1 story and all the hype surrounding her and the fact that she summons a giant fucking Gundam to go, like, fuck enemies up, right? You know what I mean? So it's kind of just like, yeah, even if you were in a situation where he's a must pull, his banner schedule and the hype surrounding other units makes it so that you don't necessarily even pull him in that situation. This probably makes a ton of sense now, doesn't it? And I do expect that this number should go a decent bit higher on his rerun because, well, Luuk is possibly the best single target character in the game. And once he gets more support, and the idea is that he's probably going to get a sub DPS that's better for him than Lene, because Luuk is a Spectro basic attacker, and Lene is a, well, I don't know, she buffs liberation damage. Luuk only gets 15% amp from her because he does 0% liberation damage in his kit. He basically has a best of slot with Lene because she has that Tomb Break boost that works really well with Toon Strain for him, on her forte. But, yeah, she just, 25% of her outro skill just goes into, like, the fucking ether. Which, well, that doesn't really spell out best in slot, right, for a character like this. Just for some extra knowledge over here, right, we've already talked about why Luuk doesn't look that great. How is Chisa so fucking high? Did the entire player base get scammed? I guess so. Yeah, the top of the list over here is going to be Shorekeeper, then Cart, then Chisa for some godforsaken reason. I don't know what the fuck happened here. You got baited. She sucks ass. Ameth, Jinsei, Camellia. Yeah, basically all the characters I talked about, they're at the top of the list. Except I think this is a bug. I think that's a fucking bug. How the fuck is that actually real? Nah, I don't believe in that one. Nah, we thought Chisa was SK. And I guess according to the Ameth owners, yeah, okay. So remember when I said 7% was high? I guess you got 21% Cart, 24% for Ameth at S6, 8.89 for Lova, 7.36 for Carlotta. Not a lot of S6 Shorekeepers, not a lot of S6 Chisas, not a lot of S6 Janseys. But yeah, it appears the Sentinel Resonators, aside from this bum over here, they make a lot of fucking dinero, bro. They make a lot of goddamn money. But this is the perfect time for us to segue, because we all know that Luuk's banner has apparently performed like dog shit. And it's not really that good, and it's kind of fucking doo-doo water. But how is it that Wuthering Waves, in the month of February, despite the fact that Luuk's banner appears to be the equivalent of griefing, how did it end up making so much money? And the reality is very simple, and I probably already fucking spoiled it by taking a look at that chart. Ameth is likely one of the most popular units ever released in the history of the game. You gotta keep in mind that based off the information that we're looking at here, all of these units have had reruns. Some of them have had like 2 or 3 plus reruns. This is Ameth's debut banner, and she's apparently the 4th most owned character in the game and has the highest S6 rate on her debut banner. Is it so surprising now why Wuthering Waves is showing up so high on these revenue charts, despite basically only having 1 banner of revenue this patch? I wouldn't be surprised if Luuk actually made negative dollars. And according to the analytics, he started dropping shit down. Because there's some other glue that I'm taking a look at over here. They got this official post from Solon Lee. After 3.1 was launched today, Solon's internal message to the Wuthering Waves project team. Good afternoon, everyone. The festive season is approaching because it's CNY, or was CNY. And on the important day when Amos goes live, I must take this opportunity to share some good news with you. As of now, the performance of version 3.1 has surpassed 2.4. And 2.4, the cart patch, and we all know Cartithia is very popular too, was their previously highest revenue patch. Makes sense, doesn't it? Makes sense what's going on over here. And when you look at all the other data points, right, you got like Wuthering Waves at the top over here for this store. You got Wuthering Waves at the top over here beating Counter-Strike 2, a literal gambling simulator game on the Steam store. It all lines up, right? This is possibly the best patch in the history of the game, revenue-wise. If not, already there. And the reality is very clear. Wuthering Waves is probably going to take their foot off the gas pedal. And you know that they're taking their foot off the gas pedal because they're only releasing one new unit next patch. It's going to be Sigrika, whose arrow and a DPS. Oh no, another fucking arrow DPS. Oh, we totally don't have a lot of those. Yeah, arrow DPSs, they're very rare in this fucking... Bro, we have like 3 of them that are extremely top tier. Chuyan is 99.9% gonna rerun as well because he's the Echo skill sub DPS and Sigrika is an Echo skill damage dealer. Arrow Echo skill damage dealer. If you don't know that by now, you're brain dead. You're just legitimately brain dead because her set's already in the game. This upcoming patch in 3.2, why do you think they haven't announced the live stream yet? This live stream is probably going to happen like 7 days before the fucking update. Because, like, they know it's not really that hype at all. They know it's not really that hype at all, and so they're not announcing it that far in advance. Because guess when the 3.1 live stream was in 3.0? It was like 2 or 3 weeks before the fucking update. It was nuts how far out it was because they wanted to generate a bunch of hype. This 3.2 patch seems like, it might be a shorter update. We've had 5-week updates before, right? So the second half banners are going to be giga short and all that shit, right? And I think it's just not going to be that big of a patch as a whole. But does that really matter in the scope of everything when 3.1 is likely the best update the game has ever had? Probably not, because we all know 3.1 literally is, I think, the best update this game has ever had content-wise. And it's also the best that it's ever had story-wise. And it's also probably the best that we've had character-wise. Because while we've been talking a lot of shit about Luke's performance, guys, his gameplay might be some of the best in the game. Like, I'm just gonna be honest over here. Like, gameplay-wise, this guy is like a tier 0. Extremely fun to play, extremely, like, fun to use. Has some of the most, like, variant gameplay we've had in the game. And it's also extremely free-to-play friendly, too. So it's just like, it's high-quality characters across the board, where Amith is more just like a visual spectacle. I'm not going to go ahead and say this character is the most engaging gameplay-wise. She's kind of, at a certain point, it does turn into a cutscene simulator, but the cutscenes are very cool. While this guy is just entirely gameplay and, like, no cutscenes, and, like, you feel like you're playing Devil May Cry when you use him. Ironic when Galbraina's in the game, and she's, like, the most brain-dead, mashing left mouse character you've ever seen, while this guy actually feels like the DMC unit. Right? We all know what I'm talking about over here, right? We all know what I'm talking about over here. Yeah, I don't think you can play this guy blindfolded. You will get your shit cooked in. You will get your fucking teeth kicked in. And so when it comes to Wuthering Waves, when it comes to the path forward, don't expect too much until the anniversary. Do realize that this is like the peak of the game that we're currently at right now, and it's one of the most well-deserved peaks I think we've seen in the gacha space. And we've got all the numbers to prove it. And of course, we've got all of like the fun and all the gameplay to prove it as well. And I think just like the main thing we need to think about moving forward is that the anniversary is going to be the patch right after 3.2. And so we're likely going to have a very, very short 3.2 Sigrika patch, and then a very early announcement of the live stream too. And then when it comes to the anniversary, guys, Kuro Games has expressly apologized multiple times for the first one. And so expectations are very, very, very high for the actual 3.3 anniversary itself. And so you can probably imagine that 3.3 for them is going to be like a big sort of like endeavor. And this is the great news, right? They've clearly already made the public statement and news that the game is doing very well monetarily. And so they're probably way more likely to have quite a significant amount of generosity knowing that they've made so much fucking cash, right? Knowing that they made so much fucking cash from 3.2. Fair to say. Maybe we'll get a free 5-star unit this time. Who knows, right? That'd be pretty neat. But we'll just have to find out as time gets closer and closer. And remember, guys, when it comes to the anniversary and it comes to all that stuff moving forward, don't buy too much into leaks, right? Don't be a Genazad over here and advertise. Don't be like a Genazad and like advertise leaks that you looked up as like your predictions, and then like, yeah, remember what that guy was saying? He was like, yeah, this is my prediction. And then it's literally like one of the leaks for like the anniversary free rewards. And it's like a direct one-to-one. He was just like, yeah, that's just what I was thinking. So, yeah, I don't know what you guys were... Bro, who believed that? I don't think anyone believed that shit. Anyways, the leaks can be extremely misleading. Extremely misleading. So don't go too crazy with it. Oh, and somebody actually found the apology tweet as well. Yeah, they even made an official Twitter post, right? Talking about all of this stuff. Right? Did it meet the anniversary? Yeah. So remember, we're probably going to lead back up. Oh, I bookmarked this shit too. Look at me being diligent, right? This was the direct response to the 2.3 broadcast and all of that. So this next one is probably going to cook like crazy, right? Because it would be wild if they made like all those posts and stuff and then, you know, didn't go nuts with it. Oh, I remember this situation as well, right? Oh, wasn't this the whole Mr. Pokey thing? Oh, right. I remember Mr. Pokey was like spreading misinfo about these. And then he deleted the video. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, he was looking at these and then he deleted the video too. So, yeah, that's just a little bit of a bonus over there. Just some of the mess that happened last year. That's going to be it for this one, ladies and gentlemen. Bit of an update on Wuthering Waves. Just know that the game might be struggling for a little bit in the short term, but what can you really expect? Because we all know 3.2 is going to be probably a massive filler patch. Right before the Annie. Let me know what you all thought. Peace out.